Reggie, Paul seems to be a little ironic, or in an unanticipated way. He seems to say that because your identity is a given, that would be motivation to try to reconcile. That seems to be at odds with how things often feel, where the offer of an identity motivates you to reconcile. What does Paul want us to carry away from this?
Yeah, Christopher, I think you're kind of at the heart of the mystery of the way that Paul operates. For him, there's the statement of an indicative. This is what has happened for you. And then following that indicative, there's an imperative. You don't do your duty in order to make something happen. You do your duty because something wonderful has happened for you. So again, it's a motivation out of gratitude and not guilt. It's not in order to get, but it's a motivation that comes out of a gift that's already been given. I'm not sure if that's what you had in mind or not.
Yeah, it's just interesting that for the people in this relationship, for Philemon and Onesimus, before the letter was written, they probably could both imagine what the other one should be doing.
Yeah.
And Paul doesn't appeal necessarily to those things at all. Rather, he lays out this gospel picture.
Yeah, and then ask them both to take their bearings from that and to figure out how the relationship should be different because of that. Not what the other guy should be doing, but how I fit into the story of Jesus and how he's working his design out in my life and in the world around me. It takes a lot of pressure off. It means my responsibility is not so much to worry about you, because I can't control you. My responsibility is to worry about about my stewardship of me, my stewardship of what the gospel story means for me and what the presence of Jesus in my life is, what today's measure of living in union with him, of stepping into the death of baptism in him and the life of coming up out of the waters in him would be, and then letting the Lord go between me and the other person and see if he can bring us together in such a way that I could never do by just trying to control the situation myself.
That reminds me of something you mentioned in the other lesson, and that is that those who focus on Christ and things above actually are more effective in their earthly relationships. And this seems to be an example of that principle.
Yeah, Christopher, and I think that's why Philemon is such a gift to us, because that great teaching that is there in the letter to the Colossians, that could be stuff that you just sort of put up on the mantelpiece, and you say, ooh, that's really kind of nice. That's all exalted Christology, a wonderful mindset to have. And miss that even in Colossians, Paul means for that great truth to get worked out in the reality and the stuff of normal life. But it becomes inescapable that we're supposed to work that stuff out in the real stuff of life when we see Philemon coming alongside the instructions to masters and servants, and those matters that even in terms of Colossians could just sort of be kept at a principial level become flesh. You see the wit, you see the subtlety of Paul's argument. You see his willingness to take people way down the road of making the responsible situations, but then finally saying, now you step up and you do the right thing, but not just the right thing, the more than right thing, and more than that, for the right reason, in light of all the stuff that I've said in Colossians. That's a great point, Christopher.